Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this edition of the NBA playoffs. So, we're going to talk about the two games that happened earlier today, and then we're going to preview the second round. So, first, let's get to the Clippers Jazz. So, it was Game 7 in Los Angeles, Clippers Jazz, and here's what happened. Chris Paul was not at his highest level. He was just 6-19 from the field, and had just 13 points, had one of his worst playoff performances, and certainly this series, and definitely in a while, and look, Paul was great for the first 6 games. He was great in Game 4, or Game 3. Great in Game 4, really great in Games 1 through 6. Was 20-10 guy. Kind of carried the team. And today, just didn't show that at all. 9 points after the first quarter. The rest of the way, just 4 points. 4 points in the other 3 quarters. That is not the kind of performance that we've seen from Chris Paul. Or that we're used to seeing. I mean, look, he kept missing shots, got to the foul line just one time, normally got 8-10 times throughout the rest of the series, and really had to carry the offense was DeAndre Jordan. Well, not really him. I mean, yeah, he's great inside, got a lot of lobs and stuff, but he was their best offensive player, really, and Jamal Crawford was kind of carrying the offense in the fourth quarter. He took the most shots. JJ Redick was terrible. He only scored 3 points, and that was in the fourth quarter when they're already down by 10. JJ Redick did not show up. He had a great Game 5. Other than that, did not play very well. Blake Griffin has not played since Game 3. It was unfortunate that was a toe injury. And look, I just don't know about this team. I just don't know how much longer they can keep this together. They've been together for 6 years now. Blake Griffin got there first, obviously, in 2010. Paul came over in 11. Then came Doc Rivers, and from what I've seen of this team, first round loss this year. Blake was hurt. But they had a 2-1 lead, and let's go back to Game 4. They had a chance to go up 3-1, they're up by 7. And then Joe Johnson just took over. I mean, here's what he did. He had a couple threes, got some assists. I think he assisted on some of their last 20 points. I mean, Joe Johnson outscored the Clippers by himself. Just like hit that buzzer beater in Game 1. Hit the game-winning shot in Game 5. Or not the game-winning shot, the shot that sealed the deal. And Joe Johnson didn't even play that great today. The key performer for the Jazz was Gordon Hayward. He was great throughout the series. Scored 40 in Game 3, 31 in Game 6, 25 of them in the second half. Hayward was great throughout the series, really. He was the main man in charge of their offense. And talk about Rudy Gobert. He did not play in Games 2 and 3 and virtually missed all of Game 1. And then tonight, he only played about 15 minutes, 13 minutes, played only 5 minutes in the first half, was constantly in foul trouble, fouled out within 3 minutes, or got 2 quick fouls within 3 minutes of the game. He was not even on the court, and Derek Favors, it was a good thing he stepped up on offense. He had 17 points today, and look, Favors, throughout the series, had games where 5 and 6, 2, 4, had another game where I think he had 2-4 points. Favors is widely inconsistent this series. Joe Ingles didn't score for 2 games. He did have some big threes, but he was not really a scorer. Actually, in Game 4, he had 11 assists, so I thought Joe Ingles played it right, but really, if you look at all the offensive performers, Joe Johnson, mostly very good, but if you want to look at all their best offensive performer for the Jazz, Game 4 doesn't really count. Gordon Hayward left with food poisoning about 9 minutes in. He was spectacular throughout the series. He carried the offense. He's been their best offensive player all year long. And it was just constant contributions. I mean, everyone contributed. George Hill, I thought he played good. Was not great, just good. He scored 15, 20 points a lot of the games. So when you look at this whole Jazz team, I like the way they played. Their defense was great throughout the series. And really, tonight it was just spectacular. You're able to limit Chris Paul after we got to them the first 6 games. There was no Blake Griffin for the last 5, and it's kind of remarkable. The Clippers should have had a 3-1 lead. Looking at what happened, they could have won Game 1. They could have won Game 5. This was the only game in the series that really I thought they had no chance to win. Looking at it, they really just no way they could have won this game, and the Clippers could have won the series. And think about it, if Blake Griffin wasn't hurt, then who knows what would have happened. So, anyways, for the next few minutes, let's talk about kind of what happened in the years past, led up to this, and then what we think their future is going to be like. So, here's what happened. This year, as we'll go backwards to forwards, this year, Blake Griffin gets hurt in Game 3. They have a chance to take a 3-1 lead. Then Joe Johnson goes crazy. They lose Game 5 in LA. They do manage to win Game 6. But today, they lost. And the contributors for today, DeAndre Jordan once again. He was something like 23 and 15. He kept them in the game. Guys like Jamal Crawford, he kept them in the game. He played very well in the second half. Paul was very good in the first quarter, then did nothing after that, at least scoring-wise. Didn't get many assists, just was not the Chris Paul we're used to. 2 years ago in San Antonio at 40 points. He has dragged this team in the past. Chris Paul, who has never been to the conference finals in his 12-year career, normally the leader of the team, did not have the performance that you would expect him to have. 6 of 13, 4 points in the last 3 quarters. Chris Paul did not show up for Game 7, the final 3 quarters. And that's why they lost today. And we can't completely blame Chris Paul. JJ Redick did nothing today. He only hit 1 3, and that was to cut it to 9 after they're down by 12 with 3 minutes left. And granted, they didn't have Blake Griffin the last 4 games. 4.5. And their luck just got to them. Did Doc Rivers do anything wrong? Well, when you lose Blake Griffin, you could go with Mo Spain to Paul Pierce. You just don't really have any other options. I don't really criticize too much. I mean, he's a very, very good coach. But with the Clippers, he just had bad lucks. And I don't know if he's coming back next year, and that's obviously his choice whether he wants to come back or not. So anyways, this Clippers team started off 14-2. They ran into injuries. Griffin got hurt. Paul got hurt. So then what do you go with? Who's your offense? Then it looked like Griffin was playing great again. It looked like he got off to a great start in Game 1. Down again, bad luck happened. I knew when Blake Griffin got hurt in Game 3, I didn't think they had a shot to win the series. The last time I really thought they had a shot to win the series was Game 4. They're up by 7 with 7 minutes left to go. They blew their shot for a 3-1 lead. They completely blew that. Lost Game 5 in Los Angeles. At that point, I knew they were done. They were done. They did win Game 6. And I thought they had a chance to win the game. But really at halftime, and certainly in the third quarter, that's when I knew they just don't have any shot. They're done. And they were down by as much as 22. Give them credit for fighting back, cutting it to as much as 9-8, even though Chris Paul didn't do anything in the second half, the last 3 quarters. So that's pretty remarkable what this team did. Without Blake Griffin the last 4 games, and basically without Chris Paul this game, certainly the last 3 quarters. So that was just not a good performance by the Clippers. A 14-2 start. At the beginning of the year, I thought this is their year to go to the conference finals. They lose in the first round once again. So that's this year. What happened last year? Last year, Blake Griffin was hurt. Same thing with Chris Paul. He was hurt some too. Against the Blazers, they're both healthy. They had a 2-0 lead. That was a shot. That was a good team. It looked like a good opportunity. They both got hurt. Don't blame them at all for that. Lost the next 4. They were done. They definitely had an excuse there. I mean, that was just very unfortunate. 2 years ago, there was absolutely zero excuse for what happened 2 years ago. They had a 3-1 lead. They lost that. and this would have been a great thing to go off 2 years ago, but I wasn't working then. And they lost Game 6 after that, a 19-point lead, and guys like Josh Smith and Corey Brewer, who are not even halfway decent three-point shooters, some of the worst shooters for the amount of percentage and the attempts they take and all that stuff. They somehow lost to that, and even the Rockets thought it was over, and they lost that game. And then there's that meltdown in OKC 3 years ago. I mean, they had a remarkable comeback in Game 3. Series tied 2-2. Chris Paul lost the ball when they should have put it away. They had a 7-point lead with about a minute left. Then he fouls Westbrook shooting a three, which that shot was a brick, a typical Westbrook shot. They lost that, and Chris Paul lost the ball. I mean, that was a terrible loss. They could have won that series, and so let's go back to what ifs. Let's go into what ifs. Would they have beat the 15 Warriors? Well, that was before we knew they were completely great. They were a very, very good team. They might have beat them, but probably not. Could they have beaten those Spurs teams? If you look at those teams on paper, maybe the Clippers are better, but those Spurs, that was a great Spurs team. They might have beaten the Spurs. They might have won the championship in 14. And then 2013, they won a 17-game winning streak. They won their division. They lost in the first round. 2012, you go back all those years, you don't even make a conference finals appearance. Blake Griffin is not 21 years old. Chris Paul is not in his prime anymore. He's going to be 32. You're going to have to pay him $150 million, which I don't think you do that. You have no choice. Blake Griffin, he's 28. He's not as athletic as he was, say, 5-6 years ago. But he's added some tools. He's a better passer. Certainly a much better shooter than he was then. So if he can stay completely healthy, he's overall a better player than, say, he was 5-6 years ago. And he's not a top 3 player. He's not the... But if you build those tools around, maybe you add in other veterans, maybe through the years you draft good, make some smart decisions. Who knows? Maybe you have the Utah Jazz like renaissance where they make it to the finals in 2 or 3 years from now when they're all older, past their primes. I just don't see it happening. Look, the T-Wolves are up and coming. They may be great in 2 or 3 years. Certainly 4 or 5. The way things look, the Warriors, what they're doing, they're going to be great for the next 3 years. The Spurs, Kawhi's not even in his prime. He's only 25, and who knows how much better he'll get. The Rockets, James Harden's yet to enter his prime. The Thunder, they're only going to get better. Their players they had with Russell Westbrook as long as he stays. And you just look at this team, and there's no way they can improve unless people outside of Griffin and Paul can do that. They've reached their peak. Their time was 2 or 3 years ago. That time is up now. And do they want to just start over and be the Clippers again? They had their opportunities. And they blew every one of their opportunities. And yes, granted, there was bad injury luck. But they also just flat out blew it a couple times. And the past 6 years, the Clippers were the Clippers. Whenever they had a chance to do something big, they blew that opportunity. And you're going to have all this cap space, or not all this cap space, you're going to have to pay the luxury tax. This team will never win a championship with their current group. It's just not going to happen. And is it time to start over? I don't know what they're going to do. I have no idea. I just can't decide. Do you give Paul $400 million or $200 million? Do you give Blake Griffin $150, $200 million? What do you do? I don't know. If they do re-sign those guys, they're just going to be the same team. They're not an elite 2-3 seed anymore. It's going to be almost impossible for them to win the conference. And look, if Chris Paul wants to win a championship, he needs to leave this team. Blake Griffin, he needs to leave. I mean, look, I just don't see them being their window passed. The Clippers are past their prime. Doc Rivers may leave. Maybe this is it for the Clippers. And what they were the past 35 years before then. And granted, this is the best era in Clippers history. They were relevant for 5 straight years, 6 straight years. They had their opportunities. They did not take advantage of them. So, it's such a question mark what's going to happen this offseason. I really don't know. So, we'll wait and see what happens. So, let's talk about the Jazz now going up against the Warriors. So, the Warriors, they obviously cruised through Portland. Steph Curry, he was spectacular in games 3 and 4. Guys like Klay Thompson played well. Durant missed 2 games, really played very well in game 5. And look, in that game 4, in that game 4, the Warriors just torched them. The Blazers had no chance whatsoever. And that was the key throughout the series. Lillard had a very good series. McCollum had 2 bad games, 2 good games. But there's really no scoring outside of them, and that was the problem. I knew it would be a sweep. Game 3 was obviously very interesting. Game 1 was interesting at times, but the Blazers just had no chance to win even 2 or 3 games. It was not that close overall. And going into this series, will that Jazz defense, you have the best defense going against the best offense, do the Jazz have a chance to make this a competitive series? Well, here's my take. When you put in a Rudy Gobert, let's say guards Pachulia, 5-on-5. He doesn't need to do that. Pachulia is not an offensive threat. He may be more focused on someone like Draymond Green. Of course, Green can cause him to chase out, so that's going to be a problem for Gobert. I would watch out for more guys like Curry, Durant, inside drives. He's an inside guy, so he may guard the 5 and really be ready when anyone comes in. That's kind of a tricky situation. How well can Joe Johnson do in this series? Well, when you look at the offense of each team, it's not comparable. You have guys like Curry who can just dominate. Pachulia can give him screens, will shoot a bunch of 30-footers, go inside, can find guys like Durant or even Klay Thompson. And then you look at Durant, who really guards him? Gordon Hayward, he's nowhere near big enough. He can't do it. And granted, Hayward's a good defender, but Durant is 6'10". There's no chance Joe Johnson can't guard him. That's an impossible matchup. You have 2 great shooters, 3 great shooters, 2 of the best 5 players in the world. I don't see the Jazz winning this series. Of course I don't see them winning the series. I don't even know if they can win a game. So if you want to go position by position, Curry is clearly better than Hill. Maybe Hill's a better defender. If that, so that's not even close. Putting Joe Ingles and Klay Thompson, maybe Joe Ingles shoots a better 3-point percentage, but Klay Thompson is just a much better player. It's not close. Then you want to put in Gordon Hayward, Durant. Maybe some games Hayward will actually outscore Durant. Maybe Hayward will score 30, 28, and Durant, I don't know, doesn't have to score 35 for them to win. So Durant's clearly a lot better. That's not even close. Throw in something like Derek Favors or Boris Diaw on Draymond, not even close. That's not close. Gobert and Pachulia, that's the one advantage. That's a clear advantage for the Jazz. And I don't know what you do in a situation like that. And look, this series is not going to be close. The Warriors' offense will obviously be too much for the Jazz defense. There's no way you can even out. The Jazz offense is one of the worst in the league. Plus, the Warriors have a great defense as well. So take those counts into. Great defense shutting down a bad offense. Great offense going up into great defense. There might be a few nail-biter games. Like maybe the Warriors win 104-91 or 101. Maybe there's a few close games. Not really. Warriors dominate this series. Maybe the Jazz, they will play very physical. They will obviously put in great effort. But it's just not going to be that close. Warriors in 4. Maybe 5 if the Jazz can somehow put together a great defensive battle, but I don't see it happening. Joe Johnson's not going to do what he did in this series. Someone like Durant can guard him. Someone like Green can guard him. There's just no other choice, and ISO Joe's not going to work in this series. And that's my thought on that series. So, Boston, Washington. So, game 1 took place today earlier, 1 o'clock this afternoon. It was in Boston. So, it was an interesting game. The Wizards got off to a 16-0 start. They led as much as 38-22. They led by as much as 17. And really, Gortat got off to a great start. Obviously slowed down as the game went on. John Wall had 16 assists. His scoring was down. He played well. I thought Beal played okay. Pretty good. He had about 22. They did their usual, but there's really no help around them. Markieff Morris played very well until he got hurt. I believe that was in the second quarter. And then Porter, he did not do very well. Yes, he had a few threes. That was it. The bench was terrible. Yes. Bogdanovich in the fourth quarter, he made it interesting in the fourth quarter. He had this stretch for a couple minutes where he went crazy, but that was it. There was absolutely no bench production. And their bench is one of the worst in the NBA. Scott Brooks had no choice but to leave Wall, Beal, and their starters in. He had no choice to do that. Their bench is terrible. Jason Smith, he's 7'1". All he can do is shoot jump shots. Very untraditional. 7'1" guy shooting jump shots. At least from old school basketball. Brandon Jennings, I don't think he did too much today. He didn't play very well. They don't have a bench. That's the problem. Oh, Oubre. He played, I thought he played well. I thought he did a decent job filling in, of course. He's not an ideal 4. He hit a few threes. He really made it interesting. He had a very good second quarter. But that was really it. That was it. For the Celtics, so they were down. Isaiah Thomas, obviously at the first field goal, he was fouled. Hit 3 free throws. Hit 3 threes in the first quarter. I think he had a total of 6. He was just spectacular. He's going inside, outside, getting to the line. Isaiah played great, considering the circumstances. He went off in the third quarter. And then Al Horford, he was spectacular. He had a great fourth quarter. I think he had 13 points in the fourth quarter. Hit a few threes. Was great rebounding, great passing, all sorts of stuff. And Bradley, he did not play very well on offense. Was good on defense as Beal was obviously limited. Crowder was great. He hit 6 threes. His performance in the third quarter, I think he hit 3 threes in the third quarter. That was the reason why the Celtics won. They just clearly outplayed them. They had a much better bench. Marcus Smart played very good defense, even hit a 3. Much to a surprise. Oh, and one key reason is why the Celtics really got back in the game early on is Kelly Olynyk. He hit a few threes. Had 12 points towards the end of the first quarter. He was spectacular. And that was the main difference. And then Jaylen Brown, who hardly ever played in the playoffs to start out, he came in and played. He really had a nice fourth quarter, brought them energy. He really was the one that put it away. So just looking at the Celtics team, they played great. Now, when you look at certain players, the Wizards have some more talented players. They may be better at rebounding. Gortat's a better rebounder than Horford. Markieff Morris is much better than, say, Amir Johnson. Stuff like that. But the way Horford played, that's the best I've seen him play in a long time. And look, adding that passing, adding that shot was really great for them. And I just don't know how the rest of the series is going to turn out. So, from what I saw in Game 1, is this going to be a trend for the rest of the series? I think so. Now, what do the Wizards need to improve on? The Wizards need to get some production out of their bench. So maybe early on in games, guys like Wall and Beal rest more. I don't know. They don't really have a choice with their bench. Wall is going to have to be great. Beal's going to have to be great. Gortat is going to have to play offense the way he did today. If they don't have Markieff Morris, that's going to be a huge loss. And for the Celtics, Isaiah Thomas, if he can play like this the rest of the series, That'll be great for them. Same thing for Horford. Really, if Bradley gets his offense going, plays great at both ends of the floor, the Celtics are going to win the series. And from what I saw today after Game 1, it's hard to tell. Obviously, some adjustments will be made for both teams in Game 2. Maybe the bench steps up, but they don't have a bench, so I don't know. Early on, I didn't know what it would be like. I thought maybe the Wizards could win the series. I don't know. It's going to be a good series. It really is. But I still think the Celtics are going to win in 6. And like I said, Game 2 will be Tuesday night. Then we go back to Washington. So in a week from now, will the Celtics be getting ready to wrap it up? Someone's going to have a 2-1 lead, obviously. Is one team going to be getting ready to either tie the series or really have a big advantage? We don't know. It's too early to tell what's going on, but look, I really like the way the Celtics played today. Other than that first quarter, they really just outplayed the Wizards, especially in the second half, especially for the first 6 minutes of the fourth quarter. So, a great 30 minutes, a poor 18 minutes. So, we'll see what happens. So, Rockets Spurs. So, this series, obviously, so after Game 4, you remember last week I was not happy with the way they played. Game 5 went the same way. As we'll get to that in a minute, let's talk about the very end of that series. Russell Westbrook carried the team once again, just like a week ago, just like a month ago, just like 6 months ago. He went off in the middle part of the third quarter and he hit 3 threes, had 14 points in a small stretch. Couldn't hit anything in the fourth quarter. He had to carry the team. And that was it. The Thunder didn't have much of a chance to really win the series. And when I said Rockets in 6, I wasn't that far off. It was a competitive series overall. Other than Game 1. Game 2 was very competitive. The Thunder could have won, but Russell Westbrook kept taking bad shots and he had no choice to. Game 3, that was very close. Game 4, they almost won, but then he had no help, had to do it again. Granted, they lost a 14-point lead. Game 5, they could have won that. Russell Westbrook brought them right back in it. Single-handedly brought them right back in it. And they just couldn't win the game. So looking at all those series, this series could have gone either way. When you say, oh, they won in 5, it was not close at all. It was a very close 5-game series. The Thunder could have won that series in 5 if things could have gotten their way. Now that series easily could have gone to 6. Easily could have gone to 7. Should have gone to 6. But so anyways, Rockets Spurs. Now let's go on to talk about the Spurs for a minute. So that series. There was a great game 5 or 4 on Saturday night. That was a great game. Marc Gasol and Mike Conley, they played very well in the first 4 games. And then you also want to look at what happened in Game 5. Spurs won that. Spurs won Game 5. Spurs won Game 6. Kawhi played very well in those 2 games. Really, he was the deciding factor. And look, he carried that offense. They didn't really have much offense outside of that. Kawhi's the reason why they won the series. If you take Kawhi out of the equation, I think that series is pretty much even. And closer than I thought. So anyways, Rockets Spurs. So, Kawhi Leonard guarding James Harden. That's going to be the difference maker. If James Harden does not play well, the Rockets don't win the series. They have no chance if James Harden does not play well. And Kawhi obviously can do it both ends of the floor. And there's really no great defender on the Rockets to really guard him. Who guards Kawhi? Maybe Ariza. You might see Harden doing it some. I don't think he's a good enough defender to even try. Maybe Beverly. Of course, Leonard is so much bigger than Beverly. It's not really that much of a matchup. I mean, we'll see. I think Beverly's going to try it. And I just don't know who guards Leonard. It seems too hard to tell. Ariza may not be quite fast enough. Beverly may not be big enough. Harden may not be quite a good enough defender. So those are my top 3 candidates. We'll watch and see what happens. So next we'll look at kind of James Harden. So Harden was spectacular in the first 3 games, was played great. Struggled a little, really struggled in game 4. Was better in game 5. But really had much more better talent around him. Eric Gordon played very well, played like a 6th man. Beverly did fine. He really caused Westbrook to take a lot of shots. And what that series kind of reminded me of was LeBron James in the finals 2 years ago. Westbrook, overall, I'd say had a good performance. Really carried the team. Really made the series competitive. He's the reason why the series was even competitive at all. But was forced to take a lot of bad shots since he really had no choice. So, there you go. So anyways, Lou Williams played well in the series. He had some good games. One player that did not show up is Ryan Anderson. He was terrible the first 3 games. Hit a few threes, but really not really the kind of player he was in the regular season. Nene, he was great the last 2 games. Really showed up. He hardly missed anything throughout the series. I think he's going to be critical to their success. So for the Spurs on the supporting cast, Tony Parker played very well in the last 2 games. He really had some flashback performances, and I think it was 25 and 27. And then you look at Danny Green. He did not play great. He had a very good game 1. So let's go position by position. Point guard, want to choose between Harden and Parker, not even close. Parker is clearly well past his prime. Harden really has it going. He may win the MVP. Not even close. Shooting guard, Beverly, technically a shooting guard, yes, between him and Green. I think it's pretty much even. I'd say Danny Green's a better pure shooter. And by the way, Danny Green, he could be the one guarding Harden at least some of the time. Very good defender. I wouldn't be surprised if I saw that. So, candidates to guard Harden, Green, and Leonard. So, small forward, Ariza and Leonard. Look, Trevor Ariza a few years ago was clearly a better shooter. Leonard's a better shooter, better defender, just so much better. I mean, Ariza, he has some good tools, but he is just a much worse version of Leonard. Not even a worse version, just a different player. Has the same skills, just does them worse. Then you want to go 4. It's between Aldridge, maybe Nene starts some. Maybe you go with Clint Capella. Look at that. There you go. With those matchups, backcourt, I think the Spurs have the advantage. Pau Gasol, and look, the Spurs, they're a better team. They have Leonard. The Rockets have Harden. He has sort of carried them. Not as much as an extreme degree. So you look at that, and I think the Rockets are going to win I think the Spurs are going to win in 6. But it's going to be competitive. Maybe 7. No. Spurs in 7. It's going to be competitive. Harden's going to have some great games. Harden's really going to be locked down in some games. I think there might be a couple blowouts. Spurs are going to win the backcourt battle or the front court battle. 4 and 5. So, let's move on to Raptors and the Cavs. So, the Raptors, what they did is they were down 2-1. And then I thought that the choice to start Norman Powell the past 3 games really paid off. He played very well in those games. I think that was a deciding factor as they moved Valanciunas to the bench, which was pretty good off the bench. And really, DeRozan was the one who really got it going. He was great in Game 4. He was the reason why they won the series. He took off. Lowry started to play better as the series went on. So, the Cavs, they obviously swept the Pacers in 4. So, let's look at the matchups. Point guard, Irving and Lowry. Lowry's a better defender. He may have to guard Kyrie, and Kyrie's lack of defense could be a difference factor, of course. Lowry did not play very well in the conference finals last year, really struggled in the first couple games. I think Irving outscores him clearly, and then you want to look at the shooting guards, JR and DeRozan, not close at all. DeRozan's really going to have a very good series. And then we saw last year in the conference finals, LeBron just blew by, wasn't anywhere close at all. He dominating. LeBron's going to dominate again. The main difference that the Raptors have is Serge Ibaka and Love. Ibaka, he may be able to shoot this series, shoot and rebound just like Love, and that's going to be a problem for Love. Having to chase Ibaka could take away some rebounds, and then Thompson and wait a minute. So it's going to be should be Norman Powell starting. That obviously worked as they won the rest of the series. So you have Powell. He's not going to guard LeBron. DeMar's going to be at the 4. He's going to guard LeBron, which really had no chance. I mean, he's a good defender, but no one can guard LeBron, really. Got Valanciunas coming off the bench. Guys like Korver coming off the bench. I think the Cavs have a better bench. I really think they do. Both teams have good benches. It's going to be competitive, just like it was last year. I see the similarities. I think the Cavs win in 5 or 6, just like last year. So there you go. There's the second round. So conference finals, Spurs Warriors, and of course Celtics and Cavs. That's what I think will be. Of course, we still got a lot of series left to play. Got a long ways to go, so we're going to watch the first few games, and we're going to come back on the air. So, thank you for listening, and we will see you next time. 30